Hey guys, it's Nitro, and today I'm going to be going over the Gunlancer blue build, otherwise known as Combat Readiness. I'm going to go over the guide for it, the abilities, the playstyle, the pros, the cons, and really what its strengths are. I don't know if you guys have done any of the Guardian raids or not yet, but having a Gunlancer that's good, that can taunt at the right times, that can control the boss, makes DPSing a lot easier, just for the whole team, and even the supports and everything. It's just a lot smoother with a Gunlancer. And then, so first I want to talk about the pros and the cons. Pros are, you can be super aggressive, you're incredibly tanky with your shield, you have a decent amount of damage, and with this build, with the leap attack and the shield charge, you actually have some decent movement speed too. I think the cons are the timing. Not only the shield requires timing, good timing, the taunt especially. Yeah, so it's just timing is kind of everything on this build. The DPS cooldown though, it's just like a regular rotation, so it's not that important. And then this skill, the combat protection, activates our shield as well. So like, I'll go over the shield right now actually. So this is your shield meter. You're pretty much always going to just be using Z. You never really use X as your ultimate. And every time you taunt, you get a little bit of shield meter, and this scales with how much specialization you have. So this is our best slot right here, our best combat stat is spec. Crit is good too, but really go for spec. And if you're going tier 1, tier 2, early tier 3, don't worry about really engravings or stats or anything like that. You're just gonna replace all that gear, so don't get too nitpicky with the gear. For example, like I just got max scrudge. I actually just bought a ring, but I had all this other stuff from doing like stuff. And it's nice, but guess what? I'm almost tier 3, and I'm just gonna replace all this, and it's not gonna matter. So I'm not too worried about it. But going for tier 3 grudge is good because we're so tanky, and having this extra damage is gonna be a lot better for, you know, the tower and just damage overall in our the content you do. But do not take grudge unless you have level 3, because that same 20% damage intake that you're gonna be getting is even at level 1, and 4 damage percent extra for 20% taking damage. It's not good, right? So don't take grudge unless you have all 3. Really just need combat readiness. Whatever else, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, unless you get to like tier 3 late game, that's really when you want to be worrying about gems and engravings and the cards and all that stuff. And I'll actually have a link below with the guide I'm using, and it goes all over like all that stuff. This guy is just going to kind of go over the play style, and I'll show some footage as well that kind of goes over how we control bosses and everything. But the first thing I want to go over is the skills. So we're going to be using dash upper fire. This is our main counter skill. It's one of the best counters in the game. Really strong. This is our shield. This just is a pretty big actually shield. Shield bash. This is just a good damage skill. Same with shield charge, but you can use this as movement as well. This also gives us a shield with the runes we're using. Chart of Hatred is our taunt. This is what generates our shield power, and it also interrupts the boss if he's casting like a spell, or it just has him target you. So definitely use this. I try to use it pretty much off cooldown, just to get as much shield as I can. Or if the boss is like casting something, and you know how those like red pizza lines, you know, everywhere, you can, and your team's like trying to get like away from it, but it's gonna hit somebody, you can taunt it and it'll interrupt that whole mechanic. So it's real nice to help your teammates out. Bash is just a damaging damage ability. Also is a counter, so you can definitely use bash as a counter as well, but I just save this most of the time for counters. And then leap attack and Guardian Thunderbolt. Guardian Thunderbolt is a lot of damage, pretty much just damage, and then leap attack is damage, and also you know, you can use to get around the map. So the rotation kind of looks like this. So you're gonna hit bash, that, F, Guardian Thunderbolt, charge, and then your jump. That's kind of how it looks like. And then I usually taunt off cooldown, and then I only really shield when like damage is gonna come out. So if you see the boss gonna do a damage skill, you can just shield, and it's really helpful to help your team out. And then this is your Z. This is the bread and butter to this build. You are so tanky with this up. Look at this. I have 55,000 health, right? This shield is like 40,000. It's crazy. It's a crazy shield. You can stand in pretty much anything. And you're fine. It's actually great. All the mechanics you have to be aware in other classes, you can just really just stand in shit. I mean, obviously avoid it if you can, but like it's not the end of the world if you stand in anything. And then, you know, so we're taking damage here, we're taking damage. This is going down steadily. When you take damage, it'll also go down. But our awakening skill, Guardian's Protection, builds this up. So this is huge. It also does a huge AoE that your teammates will take less damage and everything. So it's a really good defensive ultimate for yourself and your team. And this ult right here, like I said, it resets it. So you can go into a fight, pop this, get a full shield, and then you're at a full meter. It'd be good for the rest of the fight. Or you can just go in, taunt, use this as like a really like a last minute thing. I usually go in if it's like easy content. I just go in, I pop this, get my shield up, do some. It does pretty good damage too, and then you can just start off the whole boss fight and the encounter with a full shield. You pretty much, you don't always want to be in shield mode. Obviously, if the boss isn't targeting you, if it's stunned, if it's staggered, if you countered it, turn it off. You know, try to be liberal with this if you can, but at the same time, you know, use this like all, if you're taking damage, if you got the boss hitting you, if you use this, you pretty much, you want to be in shield stance. I'd say like 85% of the time. You know, you want to have a shield bar healthy most of the time too. So like using your taunt is good. And I'll show you guys some footage of what I mean and how you control the boss, right? Because if you have a Gunlancer, if you're taunting the boss, it enables your team to just freely DPS without any stress of getting hit by any abilities. Your DPS can just like tunnel. Your DPS can pretty much just tunnel on the boss, not having to worry about aggro or anything, not having to worry about abilities. Your supports can do the same thing, just help you out. So yeah, you kind of sacrifice a damage dealer if you go 3 DPS and a support, but if you go a Gunlancer or a support and 2 DPS, in my experience, it's been fine, right? I still do a lot of damage. And sometimes I'm the MVP for most damage. On fights that have a lot of abilities, like Guardian Rays that have a lot of stuff to dodge and stuff, I don't really have to worry about that, so I can just go super aggressive, do a lot of damage to the boss. And yeah, so that pretty much just covers everything. Oh, the stats. Yes, spec, I said spec and crit are really important. Combat readiness, you know, that's your engraving. Your gems, all that stuff, like I said, it's in the guide below. But I'm going to include some footage here, and we'll discuss it a little bit. Okay, so here is the last tier 2 Guardian raid boss. And it's actually a little difficult in terms of abilities and stuff. It's not too bad, especially as a Gunlancer. But it does have a decent amount of mechanics. But that's when you're supposed to counter. When the boss glows blue, if it's facing you with your taunt, that's when you want to use that upper that stagger ability, that counter ability. So you see here I got my shield up here. I'm using my just DPS rotation right now, and here I taunted it. That gives my DPS a decent amount of time to try to avoid mechanics and just do DPS to the boss. He does his stuff. She does his stuff. There's a counter ability, just like that. Definitely save if you can. Some bosses are different, right? Some bosses are easy to counter. Other like they glow blue for a while. You'll get used to the patterns too if you do the boss a few times, and you can just save your dash upper fire for the counter. Some bosses though have a really short window for a counter, and in those situations, I honestly just recommend just using your rotation off cooldown. Like include dash upper fire within your rotation, and you'll rely on RNG for a counter, but you'll just be doing more damage, right? So a pretty good amount of damage. So I really wouldn't worry about missing it if it's a really fast window, because some bosses, like I said, some bosses are really short windows. But most bosses you can kind of get it off. You know, we're in combat readiness, we're tanking, so we're always in the shield. We're in the combat readiness phase. I just pop my shield for my team. You know, we got a good counter there. And then just the DPS rotation I'm critting for like 400k here. So it does decent damage, and this is without grudge. I just got grudge today. And you see we can see our shield meter is pretty much on most of the time, and I'm always trying to keep it full. And that's just the game style right here. Just rotation, you know, use your DPS cooldowns when they come up. Try to stay in your shield as much as possible. But not too much. Obviously, you want to have that meter to be healthy. Get spec if you can. Otherwise, don't really worry about it unless you're like maximizing your tier 3 build. And then just taunting. Just having the boss focus you is really important. Save your counters. Save your shield. And yeah, that's kind of the playstyle. Let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Oh, this is where we get one shot. I forgot about that. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'm happy to help people learn. It's a pretty easy spec to play, honestly. It's great in Chaos Dungeons. Well, this spec is for raids, but this is only for raids, by the way. Only raid content. Chaos Dungeons might be in a different video. It's a different build entirely, but yeah, let me know if any questions. And it's a really fun playstyle. I think I like red build a little bit more, to be honest. The Lone Knight's a little bit more fun. But blue build is so tanky, like you don't have to worry about anything, which is a really fun way to play the game. All right, till next time, guys.